LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Monday. Tuesday. See, holidays got my days mixed up. This is Tuesday, November 29th, 2016. This is Community Conversations. Gator Wonder is flying solo in the studio today. My co-host, Mrs. Kabila Harden, could not join us today, but she will be back in the studio with us soon. And today is Giving Tuesday, so we've had the shopping, we had Thanksgiving, we had Black Friday, we've had Cyber Monday, but now this is Giving Tuesday, so consider giving to whatever nonprofit organization that you feel is worthy of your donations, because all of the nonprofits around town are worthy and need support. But enough about that. We may talk a little bit more about that later on. But today, our guest in the studio is Mrs. Jennifer Francomano, and she is here representing the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. So we're going to talk about the task force and some of the things that they do for the community, some of the resources that are available for homeless people in the community. So if you know of someone who is homeless, please listen to today's show and pass this information on to them so that we can help those out there that are less fortunate. And we definitely want to remember and keep those lifted up in prayer and keep them in our thoughts throughout this holiday season. How are you doing today, Mrs. Francomano?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, Mrs. Francomano, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and your background with the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force.
Well, the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force originally started in 2014 by Mayor Perrin. It was charged with organizing a gaps analysis of what services were available and what services were needed for our homeless population. I actually joined earlier this year as that to help with a strategic plan to end homelessness.
Okay, and so since you have joined, what has your experience been like so far with it? What are some of the things that you've observed, some of the things that you've learned?
Well, I know that we have do the point in time count. That's a homeless count done the last week of January. Or the last half of January, because that's typically the coldest time of the year, so more people are seeking shelter. This year, we counted 140 homeless individuals between Craighead, Poinsett, and Greene counties. Now, the 140, that's only at the places that we had volunteers to help us count. It wasn't, we can't be every place, of course.
I understand. Once again, we are speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. And again, you mentioned earlier that it is tasked with organizing a gaps analysis of what services are available and what services are needed. So what are some of the services that are available for people who are homeless in the community?
Well, currently, the services that are available, there are different organizations out there that help with hygiene products. They help with blankets, gloves, and coats. We can direct homeless individuals to food sources, to shelter, for assistance, medical care, and veteran services for the homeless veterans that we have.
Okay, and you mentioned shelter. Are there any homeless shelters currently in Jonesboro?
There are. In Jonesboro, we have the Salvation Army. It holds approximately 20 people. That's men and women combined, and then one family, I believe, up to 5.
And where is that located at?
It's on 800 Kate Avenue.
Okay, once again, it is 800 Kate Avenue for anyone that is homeless. Once again, we are speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. And you also mentioned about IDs, which, we just got finished with election season, and of course, in order to vote, you have to show your ID. But there's so many things that you have to show your identification for. So how does the Homeless Task Force assist people with getting IDs? Because there's actually some can be some cost involved, like if you have to get documentation as well.
That's correct. We have a local church here in town that saw that need and has kind of stepped up and helped homeless individuals purchase birth certificates, purchase the IDs and any other documentation that may be needed in order to get that.
Okay. Now, earlier this year, Mayor Perrin appointed a second task force, which was charged with developing a strategic plan to end homelessness. So let's kind of talk about that strategic plan. What are some of the pillars, some of the planks of that strategic plan?
One of the main things that we're working on is, kind of rapid rehousing. Individuals that maybe are in jeopardy of losing their current home or have just lost their home or living in hotels. We have a lot of individuals in Jonesboro that live in hotels. Trying to get them back out, into their own home.
And what resources do you all have available to help them do that?
We currently have a grant or about to receive a grant, hopefully. That should be announced soon from HUD to help us with those funds. And it's not just to throw a person back into a home. It's kind of giving them some assistance for a longer period of time to ease them back into that so they're not so overwhelmed.
Okay. And what about employment? Does the task force do anything to help maybe those who are homeless who are not employed to secure jobs so that they can earn money and eventually afford a place to live?
Yes, we do. We have organizations that help with employment. We also know that whenever you're homeless, sometimes your health isn't the best. We also have, a medical care partner that helps with that.
And does this medical care do it at any cost? Because I'm sure that if you're homeless, you're probably very likely not to have insurance as well.
That's correct. There are caseworkers available that can help the individual fill out papers for Medicaid. So they are able to get in to see a doctor. There are also low-cost clinics here in Jonesboro that can help with that. And we have organizations that if it's an immediate need, of course, we would take them, to the emergency room or, kind of help cost with some urgent type needs.
All right. Once again, we are speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. Phone lines are open at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. We are also streaming live on our Facebook page. If you have any questions or comments or concerns that you would like to voice to Mrs. Francomano. And I guess one thing I would like to ask about is the subject of safety. What does the Homeless Task Force do to help ensure the safety of the homeless for people who may be afraid?
Of course, we keep anonymity. We don't necessarily disclose this an individual is homeless. We help them as though they weren't. We, keep the information private and help them to the best of our abilities and ensure them that, we're not going to report them for being homeless. We're not going to have their children taken away if they have children. Our goal is, of course, is to keep families together and to get them back into housing.
All right, and looking over the notes here, I see that there is a lot of work that the task force is involved with, and one of them is the PIT count in January. So could you explain what that is all about?
Yes, that's what we refer to as the PIT count. That's the designated time of the year is like the second half of January. That is when HUD wants you to get out and to kind of do a count of the homeless individuals in your community.
Now, how do you actually go about counting it? Are there volunteers that? How would that actually work out?
Yeah, it's all done with volunteers. We have the volunteers, and then of course we have the task force members. We go, to places that we think we might encounter a homeless individual, whether that be, abandoned places, whether that be closet, the care center that feeds lunch, the individual shelters in the area.
Okay. And then the next one on the list is immediate needs. Like, how do you all assess the immediate needs of a homeless person once you encounter that person?
We actually, just kind of talk to them and get to know them. kind of see what they think their immediate needs are, try to find the root cause of some of the issues, especially the homelessness, and start tackling that first. We have brochures that if an individual is homeless, and they really don't want to just tell somebody, hey, I'm homeless. We have these brochures set up around town. They can pick one up and they can call the number that's on there, and it can direct them to the services that they need.
Could you provide the number for anyone who may know someone homeless that they can pass the information along?
Yes, that number is 933-1616.
And once again, the phone number is 870-933-1616. 870-933-1616. That is the phone number for the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. We are speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano. She is representing the Jonesboro Task Force. Again, if you have a question or a comment for Mrs. Francomano, phone number is 870-277-1080. Once again, the phone number is 870-277-1080. Looking at my notes, I see something about a hub. So do y'all have like a hub where all the activities are coordinated? And if so, how does that work?
Yes, the hub will be opening shortly after the new year, is our goal. That's going to be located next to the new First Baptist Care Center down on Main Street. And there someone can come in, and we'll have designated times that will be open. Usually that will follow in line with the care center, so someone can come in and eat, and then they can come over to the hub and talk to them and find out what their needs are, kind of help them right there on the spot versus having to send an individual in 3 or 4 different places.
Okay. And earlier you mentioned the CARE grant application to help place homeless in permanent residence, and I'm seeing on here something about training, and of course you mentioned helping people with employment assistance, but what kind of training is actually offered by the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force?
Well, it's offered through one of our partners that we have. The training can exist anywhere from on-the-job training, like in retail environments, getting an individual connected with volunteer opportunities in different places to learn different skills. It's also kind of like an educational piece too, if they need educational training with the Adult Ed Center, or taking the career readiness certificate exams through the Department of Workforce. It's just, kind of tailored specifically to that individual.
So what if a person did not finish high school? Yeah.
If they graduate
as well. Now, looking next on my notes, I see rent and utility assistance for an extended period of time. So let's talk about that, how a person may qualify for that rent and utility assistance, and maybe how much assistance, is provided.
Yeah, well, some of those monetary figures, of course, are still being worked on. But it's a more of a long-term assistance, so someone's not just thrown out and immediately has the bill that they can't afford. It's kind of to ease the person back into paying for their housing cost, making sure that they understand only 30% of your gross income should go toward housing. And that's one of the leading causes of homelessness is lack of affordable housing.
Okay. Once again, we are speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. We are talking about some of the work that they are doing in the community, some of the services that they provide to residents of the Jonesboro community. Phone lines, once again, are open at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080. Now, I don't know if you're watching on our live stream, but if you look and you see on our round table, Mrs. Francomano has all these nice little pretty pie charts and bar graphs on the table. So I'm just kind of curious what all is on those pie.
This is the homeless person. It's just mostly Greene and Craighead counties, and we do have one town from Poinsett County that reported the numbers. But according to the Department of Education's definition of homelessness, over 600 kids are considered homeless between the 3 counties.
And what is that definition?
For the Department of Education, it can be doubled up families. It can be children in foster care, or it can be, individuals living in a shelter or a place not meant for habitation.
Okay, so the definition of homelessness itself is actually pretty broad. It's just not you're out on the street living under a bridge somewhere. You could actually be considered homeless and actually with a roof over your head in some of the situations that you just mentioned.
Right, correct. That's according to the Department of Education. Now, according to HUD, it's you have to live in a shelter, live on a street, or in some type of shelter not meant for habitation, such as a tent, an abandoned building, that kind of thing.
Okay, and what's some of the other information and data that you have?
Well, unfortunately, of the 140 people that we counted, 11 were homeless veterans.
Now, that's actually, it's sad for one, but it's actually startling because one would think that the Veterans Administration would have some kind of benefit for them. So why do you think there's not more resources available for homeless veterans, especially since they have served our country?
Well, I know in this area, the VA does have housing vouchers. Just our area doesn't have them for whatever reason. And that's one of the things that we've been trying to help and to work on also. The predominant age of a homeless individual is aged between 25 and 63. And, and we talked about the affordable housing. 17 of the 140 homeless that we counted received Social Security or disability and still can't afford a place to live.
And that is, definitely very sad. Now, let's talk about the impact of homelessness on children. You mentioned that about children. I can imagine that if you are a homeless child, studying, trying to keep your grades up in school is probably the last thing on your mind. You're probably hungry. You're probably worried about, again, safety. And, of course, not safety just from crime, but, even from the elements. Especially if you don't have a roof over your head, worried about the weather and things like that. So is there like counseling or anything available for children or for adults that may be homeless?
Yes, we can connect a homeless individual with counseling needs also. And another thing that the kids worry about and that their parents tell them, if you go to school and the school finds out that we're homeless, they're going to take you away from us. So that's another worry that a child has, and they shouldn't have to.
Yeah, and I can imagine that because now the child is under pressure not to say anything, but the child, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, doesn't have his or her mind on school or making good grades, and that may cause problems at school, and because they have to keep quiet, the kids may get disciplined, and instead of being able to cry out for help. So we hope that there's a change in policy, not trying to get political or anything, to where these children aren't afraid to speak out, so that there can be more help and more resources, to help them get the help that they need. We are speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force, and of course, once again, if you would like to get more information or even help donate or just do anything to help them out, the phone number is 870-933-1616. Once again, the phone number is 870-933-1616. We're going to go ahead and go to break, and we'll be back with more. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Mark with today's a minute. From cheaters and domestic violence to red-handed corporate executives and red-faced politicians, we hear apologies galore. But does simply saying I'm sorry mean they've taken responsibility for their mistakes? No. Sometimes it just means they're sorry they got caught. There are 4 steps toward a true apology. First, acknowledge what you've done wrong. Second, grieve that wrong. Third, ask for forgiveness. And fourth, take action to ensure that it will not happen again. It's less about lip service and more about a change of heart and a change of behavior. For more on true apologies, visit my blog at markmerrill.com. Remember, your family first.
Want to connect with Mark on Facebook? You can at facebook.com/Mark Merrill.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook.
Support for KLEK is brought to you by
Tax time is here at Car Today, the original buy here, pay here dealer. New Car Today General Manager Sean Corn.
With new inventory available daily, whatever you're looking for, we've got it.
Located on Stadium Boulevard just south of the 63 bypass, tax time is the time to drive at Car Today. Car Today.
From the KLEK Community Calendar, A-State Care presents After School Tutoring in the Community. Available Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 o'clock p.m. until 5 o'clock p.m. through December 6, 2016. Subjects that will be taught will be language arts, writing, reading comprehension, mathematics, science, geography, social studies, and history. The address is 911 Magnolia Road in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Do you like the music you hear on KLEK 102.5 FM? Do you like the educational programming that we provide? Do you like the service we provide to the community? Do you like having a station to finally call your own that represents you? If so, please stop by or call any of our underwriters or sponsors that you hear on KLEK and tell them thank you for their support. The support of our underwriters and sponsors is vital for us to stay on the air, so be sure to let them know that you thank them for their support.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. Kato Wonder is in the studio with you. I am being joined by Mrs. Jennifer Francomano. She is with the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. And if you're just now tuning in, we have been talking about some of the services that they offer for people in the Jonesboro community. And they're actually doing a lot of things for people in the Jonesboro community. I'm going to go ahead just kind of give a brief overview of some of the things that we've talked about. We mentioned that the first homeless task force was appointed by the mayor in 2014, and that task force was charged with organizing a gaps analysis of what services are available and what services are needed. Then we talked about the mayor appointing a second task force charged with developing a strategic plan to end homelessness, and some of the work of the task force, which is the pit count, where they count the number of homeless people, finding out what their immediate needs are. There's going to be a hub that's coming soon in which there'll be a central resource for people to get information about the homeless task force. And we mentioned the Continuum of Care Grant application, which is going to help place homeless in permanent residency, which will provide training and rent and utility assistance for at least an extended period of time. We talked about offering assistance with health care, with counseling. We just talked about a number of different things. So for people just now tuning in, let's kind of give an overview, a recap of some of the services that are available through the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force.
Yeah, of course, we can help individuals find employment, hygiene products, blankets, coats, gloves, anything, along that line to keep warm, food, identification, medical care, veteran services, just pretty much everything someone may need.
And again, if you would like more information about the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force, their phone number is 870-933-1616. Once again, their phone number is 870-933-1616. Once again, we're speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. Now, Jennifer, why don't you tell us some personal stories that you've experienced since working with the task force? Because you've been with them for quite a while. You've been with them since the first incarnation of the task force, and now you are still there as part of the second incarnation of the task force.
Yeah, well, some of the success stories that I have seen is, we had an individual staying at Salvation Army that had a lot of different skills. Just, lost a job, lost his housing, and, found it hard to find another one. And we were able to help him get a job, and he's now a manager at another restaurant here in Jonesboro. So just because an individual is homeless doesn't mean that they have a drug or alcohol addiction. It doesn't mean they have a mental illness. It just means that they've been down on their luck for one reason or another.
So what do you think is going to take to combat the stigma of homelessness?
For one, individuals in the community have to realize it's there. Just because it's not what you see on movies, people sleeping on a park bench covered up with newspapers. It exists in Jonesboro. It exists in the surrounding small towns around Jonesboro. That's going to be the first step.
All right. So is the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force currently looking for volunteers, donations? What does the community need to do to help the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force fulfill their mission?
One is, if you come in contact with someone that's homeless, make sure and give them that phone number so we can help them, address their needs.
And once again, that phone number is 870-933-1616. Once again, that phone number is 870-933-1616. And what are other things that the community can do to help the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force?
Well, if they have extra blankets or gloves or coats, those can be given to the NEA Blanket Brigade. It's a nonprofit group here in Jonesboro that during the winter they drive up and down the streets. The individual who operates that used to be a tow truck driver here in town, and would see as he was driving through town different individuals and kind of places where people stayed, and started handing out blankets and coats during the winter months.
And does this person have like a specially marked vehicle so that if people see them, they can just hand them their blankets?
No, I don't think so. I know that just being out, a lot of times, you kind of get to know the homeless people by name. That they have a name and they're a person first. So that's one of the things that can be done. Of course, donating food to local food pantries. Whether if your church has a food pantry and that serves the public, make sure that they stay stocked up.
And I know the New St. John Missionary Baptist Church has a food pantry, and of course their number is 870-932-6915. That number is 870-932-6915 if you would like to donate food to that food pantry. And of course, if there are any other churches out there that have food pantries, you can call us at the station at 870-277-1080. Once again, that number is 870-277-1080, and you can provide your information, and we will get the word out to let people in the community know that your food pantry is available as well. Now, Mrs. Francomano, who is representing the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force, let the listeners know why you feel so passionate about this cause.
One of the things is, not many people know that we all live paycheck to paycheck. And especially if you're a renter, one paycheck could be the difference in whether or not you have a place to sleep at night. And I've been there. It's one of the things that I have, been through, a single mother with children, back several years ago. You lose a paycheck, you lose your home. And, not many people these days have a lot of savings. Maybe a person has entry-level skills or, a lack of a high school education. It's going to be harder to find higher-paying jobs where they can afford to rent, especially here in Jonesboro.
Okay, not to get too personal, but when it happened to you, how were you able to survive and get through it. What advice could you give without getting too personal into what happened to you from your own experience?
Build your support system. Use your support system. Had it not been for, my family, my immediate friends, and my church family, who knows where we would be. But you have to build your support system. You have to let people know that you need help. It's okay to ask for help.
And that was going to go into my next question. What if a person doesn't have a family, doesn't have any friends? What advice would you give for them to build a support system in that case? If they are a person of faith, of course, I would encourage them to find a church. If not, there are a lot of different support groups. I think Celebrate Recovery, hurts, habits, or hang-ups. You can go and help build your support system there. And Celebrate the Recovery is all over town. There are several locations that offer it. I know two that I'm familiar with is Nettleton Baptist Church, and there's one off the west end of Nettleton. I think it's Southwest Church of Christ. It's the one over by the fire station on West Nettleton. I know they have a Celebrate Recovery program. But again, if you are not a person of faith, just look them up, and they'll have a list of Celebrate Recovery centers, and you can choose which one may best fit your needs. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that we did not cover? I want to make sure that we get all of the pertinent and relevant information out there to the listeners.
Yeah, there are also other homeless shelters. There's a new homeless shelter that should be opened after the first of the year out on Highway 226. It's a conglomeration of Walnut Street Baptist and several other churches that are working, to kind of make sure that comes to fruition. That will be more of a long-term shelter, whereas, the Salvation Army is kind of an immediate shelter. There's Mission Outreach in Paragould, and there's Stepping Stone Sanctuary in Truman. So, you can always reach out to those shelters and see if they are in need of volunteers or donations such as food or, clothing, blankets, hygiene products, any of that kind of stuff.
And we hope to get someone involved with that project on a future edition of Community Conversations. Now, one of the things that we have not touched upon is, there are some people who are homeless who are unfortunately addicted to various drugs, and they, need help, with rehab, getting off, cleaning their life up and turning their life around so that they can have a second chance at life. What resources are available for those kind of people?
We have, again, community partners, that are part of the task force that can get that individual into, whether it be residential or outpatient rehabs. A lot of individuals here in Jonesboro that are homeless also have a mental illness. And unfortunately, if the person doesn't acknowledge that they have an illness, there's really not much that can be done.
So we definitely encourage those out there listening. If you know of someone who is in any of these situations, please point them in the direction of the task force. So whatever they may need help with, no matter what it is, we're not going to get into specifics, but if they need any kind of help, please direct them to the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. And I'm going to go ahead and give that number once again. It is 870-933-1616. Once again, that phone number is 870-933-1616. We are speaking once again with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano. She is with the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force. Currently, Mrs. Francomano, how many people are involved full-time with the task force, and how many volunteers are there?
We believe the task force is, there's about 10 appointed, and we have about 14 or 15 that attend meetings on a regular basis.
And how often and where are the meetings at? And is it open to anyone if they want to become part of the task force?
Right now, it's not necessarily open to the public, but we are not closed off from the public. They are every other Tuesday down at the City Municipal Building here in Jonesboro.
So if a person had an interest in becoming a part of it, they could call that number and get information and possibly become a part of it?
They could. Now I know that the number and it's primarily set up to help homeless individuals find their resources. So it's not always manned. Sometimes a message has to be left. Okay. Depending on what resource the person is needing. But if somebody is interested in volunteering, I can also help field those calls. They can call me at 870-268-0443. And I can take their contact information. And once we get kind of the areas to see where we need volunteers, I can reach out to them.
And once again, if you would like to volunteer or possibly become a part of the task force, and you can reach Mrs. Francomano at 870-268-0443. Once again, the phone number is 870-268-0443. We are speaking with Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force, and they are definitely doing good things for the community to help those that are less fortunate, those who may be down on their luck, because we want to definitely help lift each other up, because like they say, a rising tide lifts all ships. I believe that's correct.
Yes.
Alrighty, so is there once again anything else that you would like to add?
Not at this time. Just, make sure that you reach out to either the shelters, especially with today Giving Tuesday. Reach out to your food pantries. Maybe you don't have monetary donations, that you think would make a difference. Reach out to food pantries, reach out to clothing closets, reach out to the homeless shelters, and volunteer your time.
And I would also like to restate that this is Giving Tuesday. I'm going to actually give you a little bit of information about Giving Tuesday. There's actually a website called givingtuesday.org. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, kind of give you a little bit of the history of it. Give me just a moment here. Giving Tuesday is a global day of, let me pull this close on the screen. Giving Tuesday is a global day of giving fueled by the power of social media and collaboration. Celebrated on the Tuesday following Thanksgiving in the United States and the widely recognized shopping events Black Friday and Cyber Monday, Giving Tuesday kicks off the charitable season when many focus on their holiday and end-of-year giving. One of the best ways to get involved in your community is in your community. And of course, there are several nonprofits all over the community. Of course, there is the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force, the Salvation Army. There's just so many, I don't want to name them all. There's even KLEK. There's a little plug for us. You can give to KLEK if you enjoyed community conversations, the work that we do. KASU, public radio, if you enjoy the work that they do. There are just so many around town. Pick whichever one that aligns with your beliefs, and if you believe in the work that they do to serve the community, then give, whether it's through your money, through food items, if it's a food pantry, or clothing, if it's a clothing closet, or if you don't have any of that, give your time, volunteer. Or even if you can't do that, you can give by simply sharing, especially with social media. Spread the word, let people know that these organizations exist, that they're out there, and that they are here to serve the community. We want to once again thank Mrs. Francomano for stopping by the studio today. Any shout outs that you want to give?
No, just thanks for having me.
All right, and we want to once again thank you for stopping by the studio. We'll go ahead and pull up the calendar, let you know who we're going to have on Community Conversations for tomorrow. And I think we'll have Kabila back in the studio tomorrow. Hopefully she will be back in the studio with us tomorrow. We're going to have Dr. Shane Hunt of the Arkansas State University College of Business. He will be joining us tomorrow on Community Conversations. We're going to go ahead and go to break, and when we come back from break, I will let you know of some other things going on in the community. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. There is a lot of evidence to show that home ownership is a major factor in the capacity to build lasting, multi-generational wealth. However, there will be times in your life when renting just makes more sense. Here are some smart financial moves to make when renting. The time to work out your budget is before signing a rental agreement, not after. Whether renting or owning your home, no more than 30% of your monthly take-home pay should go to housing and utilities combined. Then leave 70% for food, clothing, transportation, entertainment, miscellaneous expenses, and of course, savings. Before moving in, inquire approximately how much the utilities cost per month and add them to your rent in order to gain a realistic financial picture. Unless your utilities are included in the rent, make sure your name is on the utilities bills, as this will help you establish credit. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Experience the joy with Bishop Adrian R. Rogers of Fullness of Joy Church, 3307 Race Street, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401.
KLEK is starting a new fundraiser which will allow listeners to donate to KLEK while buying groceries. KLEK is a part of the Kroger Community Rewards fundraising program. When shoppers visit a participating Kroger and scan his or her Kroger Plus Shoppers card, a portion of the savings goes back to KLEK to help keep it on the air. Details on how to sign up for the program are available at KrogerCommunityRewards.com and at KLEKFM.org. This is a KLEK fundraiser.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. Our guest for today was Mrs. Jennifer Francomano of the Jonesboro Homeless Task Force, and we discussed various things that the task force had to offer the community. And like I said, it's definitely a worthy cause, worthy of support. And once again, today is Giving Tuesday. Of course, you know, we've had Thanksgiving. We gave thanks on Thursday, and then some of you got your Black Friday shopping on Friday. And for those of you that did Black Friday, like my guy BT Group said, I'm not mad at you. Your boy Kato can't do it. I did Black Friday once, and that's just not my idea of a good time. Standing in line trying to shop for a deal. But if you did that, more power to you. And then, of course, they had Cyber Monday. That's kind of like BT Groups. That's more my flavor. If I'm on the shop, then sit on my computer and just order, no lines, anything like that. But bringing it to Giving Tuesday, you've done all of that. Now it's time to give back. And Giving Tuesday is all about giving to your favorite nonprofit organization. There are several nonprofits all throughout Jonesboro. Many of them we've had on this show. And of course, if you want to check some of them out, you can just go on our website, KLEKFM.org. Once again, that website is KLEKFM.org. Check out some of the interviews with some of these nonprofits. If you believe in their mission and you support what they do, then consider giving to them. You can give either financially, or give by donating goods, or give your time, or by spreading the word. And of course, if you like what we do here at KLEK, consider donating to KLEK. We are owned by the 501c3 nonprofit organization, the Voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. There is a donate link on our website, which is KLEKFM.org. Or if you're old school, you just want to write a check, you can bring that by the station. We are at 1411 Franklin Street, or you can mail it, same address, 1411 Franklin Street, Jonesboro, Arkansas, 72401. Or you can just give us a call at 870-277-1080. That number is 870-277-1080. We'll even come pick your donation up. It doesn't matter But again, like I said, it's not about us here at KLEK. If you want to give to us, we certainly would appreciate it. If you would not, please consider giving to one of the other organizations around town, because they all need your support. So all we ask that you do on this Giving Tuesday is to give to someone in which you support. Now, let me let you know about some of the other things that are going on around town. Let me pull up the KLEK Instagram. Shout out to my co-host Quabila. She keeps the KLEK Instagram updated. I can kind of go see what's going on. The Black Business Association Business Expo, that's going to be this Thursday, 10 o'clock a.m. until 6 o'clock p.m. And of course, I will be broadcasting live all day long. The event is going to be featuring several local businesses and organizations. And by the way, that's another nonprofit, the Black Business Association of Northeast Arkansas. That's another nonprofit in which you can support. But this Black Business Expo, it will be this Thursday at the Hilton Garden Inn from 10 o'clock a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. Now, even though this is the Black Business Expo, it's not going to be just black businesses. There's going to be all kinds of businesses, and of course the focus is minority businesses, because we do want to showcase the minority businesses, but there are going to be businesses from all over Jonesboro, and we are inviting the entire public to come out. We want everyone to come out. So if you're out and about on Thursday, come to the Hilton Garden Inn. Come hang out with your boy Kato. I will be broadcasting live. We definitely want to thank the sponsors of the event: the Black Business Association, the Jonesboro Regional Chamber of Commerce, Office Max, Larry Alexander of Allstate Insurance, KLEK, the Arkansas Sentinel newspaper, and the Arkansas College of Business. I think I may be looking at an old flyer, and it's not too late to actually register. More information is available via Larry Alexander at 870-935-7280. Once again, the phone number is 870-935-7280. Black Business Expo 2016. That's this Thursday at the Hilton Garden Inn. The Jonesboro Volunteer Appreciation Gala is this Friday at A-State Centennial Hall, and this is always an event that we enjoy at KLEK, because the city of Jonesboro will recognize all of the volunteers around the various nonprofits at the city of Jonesboro. Tickets are available. We have tickets available at KLEK, so give us a call if you would like a ticket for this event. We're gonna go, let's see what else we have going on. We have Give Yourself Some Credit. This is a seminar that can help you improve your credit. This is sponsored by Bancorp South. This was yesterday. I'm sorry, so you missed out on that. But hey, next time that they have another one, we'll be sure to spread the word about that. And of course, if you are doing something in the community, if you want to help make the Jonesboro community a better place, give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, the phone number is 870-277-1080. If you want to make the Jonesboro community a better place, please let us know so that we can provide this platform for you, because we are here for you. We want to let people know that you care. We care about you, and if you care about Jonesboro, we want to let other people know that you care. Also, you can check myself out and Reverend Dr. Greg Ota, who does our Wednesday morning Bible study. We're going to be on Midday with Diana Davis this Wednesday at 11 o'clock. We'll be talking about Reverend Ota's nonprofit. It's another nonprofit in which you can give to. New Life Empowerment Development Centers. They have a computer lab in which they help children out. So look for us Wednesday on Midday with Diane Davis. So if you can't get enough of Reverend Ota, you get plenty of him Wednesday. Shout out to Reverend Ota. Shout out to everyone who helps volunteer to help keep KLEK going. Thank you to all of our donors. We've had some people recently donate, and we appreciate all of those donors. Thank you to all of our sponsors and underwriters, especially our newest sponsor, McDaniel Law Firm. We want to thank them for sponsoring KLEK. Thank you to all of our sponsors, all of the people who make KLEK, and most importantly, thank you to the good Lord upstairs for blessing us to make this happen, because none of this would be possible without God, and I am not ashamed, not afraid to say that. So, not going to get on a religious soapbox, but I'm just thankful for where my blessings flow, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you that listen, because without listeners, we don't have a station. I've talked enough. Y'all have a great and blessed day. You listen to KLEK on 102.5 FM. This is Community Conversations.